So the boys are all sacked out and relaxing out here on a cool afternoon. Bear's in watching Sesame Street. Yeah, I got out here this weekend and finished this. I've been planting a lot of flowers and digging a lot of things up, so it's kind of a mess out here. But this is where I'm at. Let me grab these vice grips while I'm at it. Oh, gee, yeah, I was careful, don't I? Coast Guard. So this is what I'm thinking of doing here. Okay, be on an angle. This fits here. So I'm going to have to put a washer into that to hold that, to make sure that we got the space. And this is going to bolt up underneath that. And then the antenna screws into this, but just the mount of the antenna, not the actual like power side, if that's the way you want to look at it. Now I want to see, I thought I had another washer out here. Probably not. Anything to make more work for myself. I gotta go get more washers, guys. Alright, so I don't know what you're gonna see here, or how much or what, but I need a bigger washer because this is real close to that, because it was looking for the other piece, and I can't give it the other piece. So I gotta do it this way. And I gotta watch what I put, because if I put too much crap in here, there's more room for rust to get in. So I want to make sure that I haven't got a lot of crap and rust buildup. I can't silicone it, because if I do that, I'm actually taking away the ground. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now I could have brought in a, actually I guess I could take that lock washer off there. I don't really need that on there. I got one on the bottom. I mean, it'd be nice to have that one up there where it belongs, but I'm trying to keep shit out, not put things in. There, seems to be pretty good. Okay, now let me go get the antenna. Okay, well here you are, watching my paw again. So basically, see this piece here, this stud? The one to your right. That's the stud mount. Alright, that's the one that screws into that holds this all together. The antenna screws into the other one there, which is your SO39 connector. So this screws in here, and this is what holds it. This is the ground portion, so this has to be a good mount. Whoop, get over here. I gotta tighten those up. Alright. There. Okay. So now the coax will screw into here, and that will be all set. If I want to lay it down, I just undo this, I lay it down. Now because this is a two-way mount, see this? So I have to tighten up the screws in there for now, otherwise it'll be laying down the wrong way when it's not supposed to be laying down at all. It's a pain in the ass to take it off, but maybe I can just put a spot weld on it out here. No, let me see what happens. We'll take it one step at a time. But meanwhile, that's going to want to lay down, so I'll be right back. Okay. There's the mount. There's the coil. There's the antenna. And that's why I wanted to be able to lay it down when needed. So we will see how it works. If it gets to a point to where I don't find myself laying it down much, maybe if the mount starts giving me problems, I can just do away with it. But meanwhile, that's where I put it. I was going to put it over here on this side of the van, right here, and have the bottom part of the coil right here, which would probably drop me down about 7 inches. But then I would be off center, in my opinion. And seeing that the grounding of the truck, or the vehicle in this case, plays a big part in it, you know, you want to have a good ground, and you want to kind of have it as close to center or your best ground possible. Now, again, center wouldn't be practical for me. This is almost to a point to where it's not practical. If I couldn't find that mount, I probably would not have put it there. I would have put it over here. But at this point, I found the mount, made some adjustments, and that's where we are. Now, there's also a 13-foot extension that goes on here. The spring comes off, the 13-foot extension goes in place. But that's not for when you're mobile. That's when you're stationary someplace. Well, for instance, last year in the wintertime, I was out on call, and basically the only thing I was doing was blocking the road, because wires had come across the line, you know, across the road. So I was basically trying to keep traffic from going down there. Now, because it wasn't a highly traveled road, it was snowing like a mother. People were getting stuck all over the place. I was able just to park there, have my my hazard lights on, you know, these lights, and just sit in the van. So at that point, if I had wanted to, I could have put the bigger antenna on and you know, just start having a good time talking. I was there for 4 hours, you know, and that would have worked just fine. Now this one should work as well, but they say when you put the larger one on there, you have a little bit more of a broadband and a little bit better performance. So I'll have to try it sometime to find out. All right, this is 100 feet of RG8X 240. I was going to go with a Flex Hardline, but you know what? I'm not going to run that much of it. So because I'm not going to be running that much of it, and I'm not running a whole lot of power, this is going to be fine. I mean, this stuff will handle up to 400 or 500 watts. And again, it's double shielded. It's got a good velocity factor, and it's a 50 ohm, so naturally it's got the velocity as such. And like I say, I may, well, I'm going to run it out there just to get an idea, but I'm probably thinking maybe 17, 18 feet, 18 feet, 20 feet. Yeah, I'm going to run it out there and just do a quick, you know, arm stretch to get an idea. I'll be right back. Alright, anyway, arming it out real quick. I came up with about 19 feet, so I made it 21 feet. So now, I got to find a 176 reducer, which I should have a bunch of here, which I do. The difference between a 176 reducer and a 175 reducer are the size of the coax that it'll take. Now, I don't know if I have a 175 on here. Probably not. No. Anyway. See, this is RG8X. This is a little bit heavier than your standard coax. Your standard coax is a little bit smaller than this. I probably haven't got any around here to show you. So it takes a reducer that's a little smaller. See, what it does is it reduces the wire down to fit this. Now these, I've got some, but they're kind of junk. And I don't mind using them for like a jumper or something, but when I'm putting up something that's going to be somewhat permanent, I like to run a better PL259. See, the PL259 is made to take the heavier coax, the thicker stuff. Well, I've got some over there to show you, but I'm not going to go nuts right now. And then you want to reduce that so that it'll fit this will fit into there, because if I put it in there now, it's just going to be sloppy, which is not going to give me any grounds. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So by having this will fit into there, this will screw into that, and it reduces the size of this to the size of this. So they call it a reducer. The 175 is a little bit smaller because it's made for the basic standard run-of-the-mill coax that you would get if you were to buy like a package antenna, like a package CB antenna. You would end up with your basic coax. Not that there's anything really wrong with it. The better the antenna though, however, the better the coax would be. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 8X, but it might be a little bit better quality. Like K40 and Wilson, for instance, at one time, their antennas were not too bad of an antenna, actually. I liked them. And they had the standard coax on it, you know, but it was a better grade, you know, because you know the coax means a lot when you're talking with an antenna on a radio. You know, the cheaper coax, the lesser shield that it has on it. See, this has a double shield. It's got the braid, and then it's got the foil. The cheaper coax may not have as thick a braid on it, and it's not going to have the foil on it. So it's like if you take a hose, you put a nozzle on the end of it, you turn it on full, you open up the nozzle, you get good pressure. All right, because the water that's coming out of the spigot is making it all the way through the hose and out the nozzle. Well, if I start going around poking holes in the hose, the water is going to start to escape, meaning you're not going to get as much through that nozzle. Well, that's what happens with coax. As the signal, I'm just laying this out kind of like an easy way here. If the signal is traveling through the center piece of the coax, the shield is kind of like holding that signal in. So the crappier the shield, you know, the less signal is going to make it out of the other end, because it's going to be just leaving, you know, radiating, dispersing out through the coax as if it was water coming through a hose with holes in it. Make sense? Makes sense to me anyway. So, but anyway, today is Thursday. I was going to go to Groton Sub Base. The master chief of the submarine, the Harford, had given Tom and myself his information, his email and everything. And they said if we're ever up that way again, stop in, because he's going to be around for a few weeks. He'll give us a private tour of the sub. Well, we were talking about doing it today, but things came up. I have somebody coming over today. Well, they were supposed to be coming over today. So, you know, just things happened, you know, so I just ain't going to make it today. So, now there's a sub up at the base that's, you know, like a tourist type thing where, you know, you go and the kids go up there from school and stuff like that. Oh, here's another thing you got to remember. Always put this on first. Get used to doing it. Sometimes we'll say, oh, you got the other end isn't done yet. Yeah, but you know what? If you get used to doing it this way, someday you may have to put just one end on because there is another end on already, and you're going to not think of that. So get used to doing it because, you know, muscle memory. Muscle memory. That plays a lot in your life. You don't believe it. You don't believe. You won't believe how much it plays a part in your life. When I give firearm classes, I talk a lot about muscle memory. And part of it, sometimes I'll tell the student, one of the students, I say, all right, who wants to be part of an exercise? You know, and they all kind of reluctantly look at one, they all look at one another like, oh shit, you know, do I want to get involved? But, you know, usually somebody gets pushed up, and I'll tell him or her, I want you to go out to your car, I want you to start it up, then I want you to turn it off, and I want you to come back in. And they look at me like, what the hell is he talking about? Now see, this side I'm going to do a little bit different from the other side. Should I? Well, it'll work, let's put it that way. But because it's going to be inside, I can change it a lot easier than if it's going to be outside. Normally, I would not do it this way, because the shield, again, is part of your ground. So when I connect it to this like I'm doing here, that's fine. But the right way to do it is fold it over the outside of this part, and then when you put this on, it has holes in it, you can solder it on. So it's being soldered. You know, so that's one of those things to where, okay, I'm cheating a little bit. Now the one that's going to be exposed to the elements, I'll do it the other way and solder it on. There. Now I always cut a little piece of this insulator, just enough to slide over this, just to make sure that I've got no issues with shorts. Especially when you have this little foil, you want to make sure the foil's not going to get up there and touch, because again, the foil and the shield are ground. If you were looking at it as being power, you know, hot, positive and negative, and if they short out, you have a problem. Well, hello, we don't want this to short out. Okay, now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tin the center. Well, I'm going to attempt to tint the center. Let's put it that way. Put a little tin on it. Do I have any flux laying around here? I probably do. Yeah, flux is good for most part, as long as you got an idea of what you're doing real quick, because flux can either give you a better connection, a better solder, or a worse one. Because sometimes the solder will flow a lot easier with flux and you don't have the connection that you think you have. Now you don't see what I'm doing here, but I'm just tinning the end of the wire. I want to make sure that it goes all the way through. Just like sweating a pipe, you draw it through. Okay. So now when I do screw this one on here, I'll be sure of getting a better connection. So now I'll put this on like that. Okay. Now I'm going to want to tighten that down a little bit more. So let me get a pair of pliers. I just want to make sure that it's tight. Now I actually forgot what I was talking about before. We're talking about the hose, the grounds. I don't know what the hell we were talking about. I don't remember. Like I'm really using some small pliers here to do this, huh? See, I want that reducer to be snug because that's all ground now. Okay, so that's what we got there. I'm going to just cut this off now. Some cut it off before, some cut it off after. I want to make sure that I get a little flow down the tip. But at the same token, I don't want to heat it up so much that I start to melt the center element, that little foam in there, because then I'll end up with a short again. So I want to make sure that everything works relatively quickly and easily. That's why you want a good solder station. Because, come on, yeah, there you go. Alright, get it hot and then draw it down. I want to bring it down into that tip. But I don't want to get it so hot that it starts to melt. I want a nice clean end. There we go, perfect. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll take, well, I don't have it. I usually have a little piece of sandpaper over there, but I'll use this leather for now. It'll work. Because sometimes you end up with a little flux hanging out on this tip, and you really don't want flux hanging out on your tip because it's going to interfere with the connection. So now let me find the other end, if I can catch it before I keep sliding down the cable, which is going to keep sliding down the cable. Okay. Anything to make me bend over. So this side's basically done. So now this will screw in. See, the other way I would have the shield right there in those holes, and I would just solder those in. So now I'm going to kind of like just, yeah, come on, get on there. Be nice. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to take the other end, because I want to make sure this end is good. So I'm going to strip this end down a little bit. A little bit, little bit, little bit. And, oh yeah, let me cut that down a little bit too. This is going to be soldered, so I need a little bit more. Come on, come on. I got to get another pair of strippers. I keep saying that, and I keep forgetting to order them. This is what I've been weaned on. I always use these. I keep my little finger in there, and that keeps me from going too far, too short. You get used to it. You get the feel for it. You know, there's other ones that have the automatic sizes and all that. I couldn't use those if my life depended on it. You know, it's just I've never used them, so I'm not weaned on it, and it's one of those things I'm just not comfortable with. All right. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm just going to fold some of this stuff back, because I want to make sure that when I did put the solder into the tip here on this one, that one, I made a good connection, and two, I didn't make any shorts. So I just want to make sure. All right, so I can see that nothing's connected to this right now. Put this on noise, ohms. Test. Okay, so if I touch this case here to that wire case there, I should get it. Good, so that means I got a good ground. If I touch the ground here to the tip here, I should get nothing. Okay, so that tells me I have no shorts, and I have a good ground. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just peel this back a little bit. And now I want to touch center to center to make sure that I have a good connection on the center. So let me get this over here. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, now that's touching center there. So now I'm going to touch center here, and I should get the beep. All right, good. So that means I got a good connection there and there. And again, I'll check for short, and I have no shorts. So that tells me this end is okay. I got no issues. Now once I finish the other end, I'll do the same thing to make sure that both ends are good. Got that? You got that? What do you mean? You talking to me? So let me now pull this up. All right. Oh, first we're going to put the end on. Remember I tell you about to put the sleeve on first. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, guys. Now, because I'm going to solder this one on, I got to put this on first. And I got to make sure that... What's the matter, Duff? It's all right. He's not going in the van. He's only looking. All right, and then I'm going to take this here and bring it over the outside. Okay. Now there's pros and cons on this, because when you do it this way, sometimes you can't get a good bite. You know, you're not getting a good connection. Even though you're soldering, sometimes it just doesn't seem to do it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things to where there's pros and cons. And if the shield isn't heavy enough, you know, you're not going to have enough there to solder. So you're better off at that point sticking it, you know, down under this, because then you have this whole thing kind of connecting to it and not just the solder joints, if you know what I mean. All right, now I want to tin this again, so let me just put a little flux on that. Get my hands dirty again. I cannot keep my hands clean when I'm out in the shop. I just can't do it. And I'm not going to wash them every time I turn it on either, you know. Okay, so now, let me get my little insulator. I want to cut a little piece off of this one. You want to make sure it's kind of straight. This is just something I do. Doesn't have to necessarily be done. Just something I do. And we're going to take this, and now we're going to screw it down on there. Let me get the pliers on it, because now I got a little bit of wire caught in there, so it's going to be a little tough just to screw it down real quick. So, not that it needs a lot, but just more than what I have in my fingers. Okay. Now I got to try to find a spot that has some shield on it so I can solder it. There we go, right there. Now the trick here is to make everything hot enough to get soldered to, but not hot enough to where you melt through everything. Yeah, bud. Put a little flux on the solder just for the hell of it. Make sure the solder iron is up. We want it hot, and we want it relatively quick. And we got to get that reducer hot enough too. Sometimes you really got to use a solder gun for this. Sometimes the solder iron just isn't going to do it, especially this. It's only a 40 watt solder iron. Because what I'm trying to do now is get this reducer as hot as well as that, so that this all flows in and catches that solder and it makes a good connection to everything. That's the principle behind all this. Let me put a little flux on it, see if that'll help it flow. You know, and if I just keep it here and start getting it hot, the more I do that, the more chances of it heating up the that little foam piece that was in between the two. That's a lousy job. Now, what you doing, buddy? I should get the solder gun out. But we'll check it, see what happens. I keep ripping the shit out of my nails. I keep splitting them because I use them for peeling and things, you know? And you guys know, you guys do this shit. I'm not the only one out here doing this. Yeah. So anyway, oh, see, that's hot. Let me get some freezer spray. I really shouldn't do this, but I'm going to go this way. I don't want that heat to go through. But see, I don't want to get a cold solder joint either. But I just don't want the heat to go through it and melt everything that's in there, because it's hot. Yeah, I didn't cool it down that much. Okay, so let's do this. I'm not going to check for continuity yet. I just want to check for short. So between the tip, this wire here, and this, I should have nothing. Nothing. Good. Okay, now let me find the other end. Hold on. So between here, between this ground and this ground, I should have something. Okay, I got it. Okay. And I should have nothing from ground to center. Now I'm not going to check this center yet, only because I haven't soldered it. Once I get it soldered, I'll check center to center as well. So, I mean, it's all kind of, you like to say it's common sense, but I don't believe in that word, believe it or not. But anyway, getting back to the muscle memory. So I tell the kid, whoever it is, go out to your car, start it up, come back in. All right, sit down. So you see him go out the door. You hear him start the car. He closes the door. He gets in the car, closes the door. Because you hear all this from inside. Starts the car, and you hear him shut the car off, get back out, shut the door. He locks the door even, but and he comes in and sits down. So then I say to him, "What'd you do?" I said to him, "Well, what did he do?" And they all kind of look around like, what am I talking about? Where am I going with this? They're trying to think of where I'm going versus, just thinking about what did he do? Because it was a simple question. But it's a question that you're going to have to think about for a minute. Well, somebody will say, he went out and he started up his car, like you told him to. Okay, but tell me what he did. And they still can't get it, and they're, Okay, so listen. I asked him to go start his car, right? Right, okay. What's the first thing he did? Think about it for a minute. What's the first thing he did? They look around. I said, he had to stand up. He was sitting down. I said, he had to stand up, right? Oh, yeah, okay. Then what did he do? Right? Well, he walked out to the car. Yeah, right. Did he walk through the door? Or did he have to open the door? That's after he walked to the door. Right? All right, okay, yeah, so he opened the door. Now, did he have his keys in his hand, or did he have to get them out of his pocket? These are things that I'm bringing up. I'm kind of stretching it a little bit, but these are things that I'm bringing up because it comes in handy sometimes. Well, it comes in handy all the time. I said, okay, so he went out to his car. We got it established that he walked out to his car. He opened the door now, and he walked out to the car. He got his keys. He walked out to the car. Then what did he do? Right. Well, now they're starting to catch on. Well, you had to open the door of the car. Right. Okay, now we're getting there. So let's do step by step. All right. Who's next? All right. Okay. Oh, and then he got in the car and he put the key in the ignition and he turned the key to on, started the car. Right. Okay. Now we're talking. Now we're getting there. All right. So after we've established all that, I said, this is what basically muscle memory is and how it works. Everything you do in life, including breathing, revolves around muscle memory. Everything you do. It's just that we're so used to doing it, we're trained to do it, we don't think, we just do. But you had to have been programmed. You have to learn these things, and that's what happens, as you grow. You learn these things. I says, and that's basically it. So when it comes to firearms, if you don't pay attention and you don't train yourself right and do things the same way, hopefully the right way, all right, it'll become natural. It'll just become automatic. Right down to cleaning your guns. Now they start thinking about it a little bit more, because now it becomes an everyday thing, like walking, talking, breathing, chewing gum, whatever it is that you're doing. And so now they're starting to get the picture. Yeah. And so when you clean your gun, for instance, good, no shorts. Where are you going to clean your gun? You're supposed to clean it in a safe area, all right? She goes, well, I'll make sure, one of the women said, I'll make sure there's nobody around. I said, well, that's good. That's a good start. She says, and if that's the case, I can just sit in the living room and clean it while I'm watching TV. Well, okay. That's a possibility. I says, however, if you get used to doing that, you're going to forget to pay attention if there's anybody around. What happens if there's somebody in the bedroom over here, and you're in the living room over here, and you're racking your firearm to empty it, all right, and the next thing you know, it goes off, because it does happen. It's happened to me. All right, and it goes off, it goes through the wall, and it hits that person in the bedroom. Because you're used to doing it here in the living room. Now I'm going to tell you a true story about that. There was I'm not going to give you his name. He's still alive. He's still around. So it's not that bad. I may have told it to you before. He was I don't know, he still may be, but I think he's probably retired. He was a West Haven detective. And when West Haven went from revolvers to semi-automatics, they gave a couple of hours training, but not a whole lot of training. You know, more so, you know, like, okay, here's how the gun works. Good luck. Enjoy yourself. Have a good life. All right. And to me, I mean, you're talking to an officer of the law that's out there that has to supposedly defend people and himself. In this case, more himself nowadays. But, so Butch, I told you I wasn't going to give his name. He decides, you know, he goes to the range because he's a conscientious person. He wants to know how to use his gun. All right? He's not a, you know, I eat, sleep, breathe, bleed firearms, but he works with it, so he's going to know it and respect it. All right? So he used to go to the range. He comes home. Now his routine is, him and his wife live alone now, you know, because they have their own kids. Their kids are all out of the house and they live alone. So what he used to do, he used to come home, break his firearm down at the coffee table while watching TV. All right? He'd unload his firearm. Well, first he'd take the magazine out, right? Then take the one out of the chamber, and he'd put them right there, which is wrong. Get them away from you. Make an effort to get them away from you. You want to be able to you want to get up to get your ammo. You don't want it that close to you when you clean your gun. But anyway, he's cleaning his gun. Now, he does the same thing over and over and over again. Now it becomes part of so-called muscle memory. So, usually when he's done, after he cleans his weapon, he puts the magazine in, he chambers one, he takes the magazine out, takes the one that was chambered prior, puts it in the magazine so he has a full magazine, and he has one in the chamber, and he gets up and puts the gun away. So this is what he's programmed. You know, when he's done, he gets up with the gun and puts it away. Well, one day in the middle of cleaning his firearm, he got a phone call. And seeing that they didn't have cell phones back then, and he didn't like cordless because he always felt somebody's going to be able to listen to him, and that's true. So he had the old coil cord. So his wife said, "Butch, telephone." So he's going to get up. Well, what does he do? What is he trained to do? He's got himself into a point to where before he gets up, he's usually done. So if he's done, he puts his firearm back together, then he gets up. So what's he do? Puts the magazine back in it, chambers one, boom, 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 magazine in. Now he's got a loaded firearm, chambered magazine, everything's in there. He gets up, he answers the phone. But see, he wasn't done cleaning the gun. But it's a habit, muscle memory. If he's getting up, he does these things, see? So he gets up, he answers the phone. He comes back. Now, he's telling me this because I know Butch, all right? And well, I'll tell you what happened. Anyway, he comes back. He sits down. He picks up the firearm. And he says, something doesn't feel right. You know, he knows something was wrong. So he takes the magazine out like he's supposed to do. But he still has some fluids and cleaning materials on his hand and oils and shit like that. So he went to check it. And while he's doing this, he was checking it with these two, the thumb and the middle finger. This finger's kind of just hanging out here. Somehow or other, when he was sliding it back to see if there was a round in the chamber, instead of just racking it, he wants to do this little press check bullshit, all right? And he's doing it from the front of the gun, all right? Which, in my opinion, you're wrong. Keep your hands away from the front of the gun, all right? His fingers floating around out here while he's doing it. He gets it back far enough, apparently. I don't know how it happened. The slide slides out of his hand. The only thing I can think of is he also had his finger on the trigger, and he shot his finger off at the knuckle, right there. Boom. So now, he comes into my store, because I had a store in West Haven at the time, communication shop. He comes in the store the next day, and he's got this big bandage on his hand. You know, now it's a West Haven store. There's a lot of West Haven people in the store, all right? You know, I mean, that's just the way it worked. And a lot of them know Butch. You know, not know him personally, but know him being a detective with the police department. So he walks in the store, and I see this big thing. I said, Butch, what'd you do? Well, kind of under his breath, he goes, I shot my finger off. I go, what'd you do? Now, a scooch as I am, what'd you do? I said, I shot my finger off. You shot your finger? And I said it so loud that everybody in the store heard it. Right? So now he's turning bright red. But after all that, he tells me the story. And then I said, oh, man, you know, that's just, it's just, you know, it's kind of like bad training. You know, I mean, if the ammo wasn't there, and he had to make an effort to get up and walk across the room to get it, he would have never put it in the gun to start with. You follow? You know, and even though he did everything right afterwards, it would have never happened if the ammo wasn't there to be put in the gun when he got called to the phone. You know, so it's just, you got to remember these things. You know, when you're cleaning your gun, you never know who's going to be in the other room, who's upstairs, who's downstairs. You get used to being downstairs, you're cleaning your gun, and when you're doing all your checking, the gun's facing up and it accidentally goes off. It can go through the floor. The next thing you know, it's going to hit somebody. You know, possibility. If you're upstairs, it can go through the floor downstairs. You know, so either way, it can go through a sheetrock wall, hit somebody in the kitchen. I mean, you never know. So you want to make sure that you pick a good spot and you know what you're doing, you know where you are at all times and who's around at all times, and just don't, you know, assuming that nobody's around, because your muscle memory is going to kick in and you're going to forget. You're going to do what you do like you do every day of your life. You just do it. So, I don't know if I made sense when I did that, because I'm not actually giving you a class here. I'm just bullshitting. You know, it's just part of it. And I have no idea how I got on that. Oh, and I was talking about the sleeve on the connector here. All right, so I think we're done. It's probably close to 4 o'clock. I don't think I'm going to run the coax today because it's getting late. And I got to go in and take a shower. Look at me. What was I doing that I got this dirty? Oh, I was working on the heat exchange outside on the chimney. The chimney rotted and fell off. I had to put a new chimney on it. I don't know how the hell that happened. But anyway, that happened. So I got that done. And then that's it. I'm done for today.